Hello, everyone. My name is Pat Southwell, and this is the first ever episode of Solar Sidekicks. We're coming to you from Radio Carrum at Roy Door Reserve, and I have my first guest here, which I'll give a quick little intro to. It's Matt Leeson. G'day, Matt.
G'day, Pat. Thanks for having me.
No worries. We'll get into a bit more about you in a minute, but just so I'm not talking at myself for the first ever time doing this podcast, we'll make it a bit more conversational. So we're doing this podcast with a community radio station, Radio Carrum, and I'm a licensed electrical inspector working in the solar industry, working out of Seaford, and I do a lot of work inspecting solar systems in and around Melbourne and also all around Victoria, actually. I do a lot of solar Vic audits, do a lot of licensed electrical inspectors for inspections for other things like switchboards. I'm a clean energy regulator inspector as well. And yeah, been in solar for around about 15, 16 years and a licensed electrical inspector for 2.5 years. I got my LEI in August 2010. Sorry, 2021, not quite 2010. I joined the solar industry in 2009. So that's a fair bit. I won't go too much into the self-indulgent stuff too much. Matt, great to have you here. So you work for Leeson Solar and with your brother. That's right, isn't it?
Yep. Pete is the big boss of the company. Many people, some of your listeners probably would have heard him on other podcasts and just know him through the industry over the years.
Yeah. I've known Pete for a while too, myself. It's actually funny. Both of us used to go to primary school together. So
we did.
We did. We went to St John's Primary in Mitcham all those years ago, and our parents, our mums used to be good friends. Actually, I remember them talking.
They were, yeah.
Yeah, talking in the car park before they pick us up from school. I used to end up at your place with you and Pete after school sometimes, just having sleepovers, going to Ringwood pools, all this sort of stuff.
And likewise, I have memories. I believe your dad had a paraglider in the backyard.
Oh, hang glider, yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, he was all into his CB radios and all that sort of stuff. He loves it. He's doing his pilot's license at the moment. So
fantastic.
Yeah. So he's still into that sort of stuff. So yeah, we've known each other for a long time, and then probably didn't see each other for a while, and
that's right.
Reconnected through the solar industry.
We did. I was very excited when I came back into the industry a number of years ago and saw your name popping up and about when you're working at the Clean Energy Council.
Yeah. So I spent 5 years at the Clean Energy Council from started there at the start of 2017, and it was a really great role to have actually. I quite enjoyed it. Just before I got my LEI, but yeah, being able to reconnect with the guys like yourself and like with Pete. It's been really good. It's funny because I have a look at what Pete's done now, and I must say he's one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. I don't say that lightly as well. But at primary school, he didn't strike me as being he didn't strike me as being dumb or anything like that. But he didn't strike me as being overly intelligent. And to look what he's done now, it's just amazing. It really is.
He definitely was a bit of the class clown, the joker. He was always full of life, having a good time. But he's definitely hard to keep up with on the intelligence stakes and just where his mind goes.
Oh, it's unbelievable. The amount he knows about not just the electrical industry and solar and all the stuff you guys do, but about finance and large-scale solar farms and all this sort of stuff. Oh, it's quite amazing, really.
He's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah. He absolutely is. So, all right, let's have a little bit of a chat about you, Matt. I've got you in as a guest today. First thing I want to know, so the name of this program, Solar Sidekicks, right? So
that's a great name.
Is it? You like it? Thanks very much. It's got a few different sort of undertones to it. So a lot of the other industry podcasts which are around, they're great. We love them, right? They seem to get a lot of the big people in the industry. Maybe they're the superheroes. So let's give the sidekicks a bit of a chance. So what are you, Matt? Are you a sidekick or are you a superhero?
Oh, well, with Pete at the helm, I'm definitely a sidekick, mate.
Pretty hard to top Pete, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. No, that's all good. All right. So I've got your bio you've given us here. So Matt is a 43-year-old father, husband, and avid outdoorsman who, after nearly a decade working as a vehicle mechanic, made the switch to becoming an electrician in his mid-20s. Teaming up with his brother Peter Leeson, they have steadily built brand recognition in the renewables industry with the Leeson Solar and the Volt Solar Tile businesses by focusing on quality and pushing the boundaries of what is considered possible in the PV sector. Matthew's job is simply regulation and compliance, and in an industry that is often considered over-regulated, this certainly keeps him busy. There you go. All right, well, anything you want to talk about that, Matt? Like, the first thing that comes out to me is become an electrician in your mid-20s. So that's probably a bit more common these days because you get a lot of apprentices sort of in their mid-20s. They may have gone to uni or had a gap year or whatever, but we're the same age. I'm 43 as well. I actually started my apprenticeship when I was 18, and that was almost considered a little bit late as well. I had mates that were starting as, you know, some of them left school end of year 10, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, that sort of stuff to start their apprenticeship. Now, you started in your mid-20s. How'd you go with that?
Well, I always, through my later years at school, figured that I would probably end up going to university and going down that path. And then in my late teens, decided it wasn't for me. Found myself in a position where I was offered a job as a motor mechanic, continued that trade till my mid-20s.
Yep.
Got my qualifications, worked around Australia, did some really exciting things in the industry. And then Pete was based in the UK at the time. He'd travelled over there and done the usual couple of years working over there and experiencing Europe and whatnot.
Did he work behind a bar or something, did he? Or what did he do?
No, he was working as an electrician over there.
Sparky,
so,
was he?
Yeah,
right.
yeah, he was running jobs over there.
Of course he was. He was running the place.
Pretty much.
Yep.
And when he decided it was time to come home, I said,
Yep.
well, if you're going to start back up, I wouldn't mind coming on board as an apprentice and learning a new trade.
Yeah, right.
And we just took it from there. So that was probably right as the GFC was hitting and and the Australian government came out with the Building Education Revolution, so pumped a lot of money into school infrastructure and stuff.
Yeah.
So the commercial, electrical...
so you did a lot of that BER stuff with the building of it, did you?
Yeah, we
There you go.
did a lot of that stuff. So we experienced sort of rapid growth throughout that period of time. At the same time, that's about when the bug hit for Pete when it came to renewables. So he'd been toying with the idea. We'd done a few installations. We'd got accreditations and whatnot. And that's when the bug bit. So while I was focused on commercial, Pete was wrapping his mind around all things solar.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, he's certainly made a good fist of that. I actually had a little bit to do with the BER buildings, doing some inspections on them. So a lot of them now are full of solar. A lot of because most schools I haven't been to the ones around the rest of the country. Most schools in Victoria, the ones that I've been to, they've pretty much all got a BER building now. So I know the government pumped a lot of money into it. They
did indeed, and I think at the time we were pushing for a lot of them to have solar installed as part of the package. Some went with it, a lot didn't. It was a different industry back then. The cost per watt was higher. There probably wasn't as much belief in it as well. They didn't see the financial return as well as the environmental impact that it could have. Yeah, a bit more niche back then, wasn't it? Correct. Yeah, it certainly was. Okay. All right, well, that's great. So getting into solar, did you pretty much... So when did you get your A grade? When was that? Finish your apprenticeship? Would have been probably around 30, 31 years old. Yep. So 12 years, something like that. Yeah, about then, yep. Yeah. So you went straight into solar. Did you get your accreditation straight away? Yeah, so we went and did the course of that's required to be done. I think it was about a week long to do the solar installation and design. And then it was probably a while before I did my CEC accreditations. Yep. Being that I was focused more on the commercial side of the business than the solar installation side, we already had solar sparkies with the accreditation. So I was sort of a filling guy up until I came back to working with Pete again. I took a couple of years break, went out, did my own thing for a while, and then it would have been 7 or 8 years ago, came back and the job was purely renewables focused. So I jumped straight in there and did the CEC accreditations and got my endorsements and battery accreditation, etc. And just been enjoying the industry since then. Yeah, for sure. It definitely is an enjoyable industry. I do remember, I think it would have been, around about 2014, I think. That's when I reconnected with Pete again, I think. It could have been 2015. Anyway, there was an awards night up in, I think it was Brisbane for the CEC. And I couldn't believe that Pete basically had to
check in a wheelbarrow on his way home so he could take all the awards home. So were you part of any of those award-winning installs, or was that a bit before your time?
Yeah, look, I helped out on a few of them, worked on a few of them with him. Notably, one was a thin film flexible panel.
So that one in Port Melbourne?
That's the one.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that was a relatively strange design.
Quite interesting, though.
Yeah, they had a lot of constraints as to how a system could be installed on the roof. It was a curved roof. They needed to maintain low profile. Couldn't have nesting birds. It's right on the port, right on the holding dock there where the refueling happens, not more than 20 metres from the actual system.
Yeah.
There was a lot of design and specialised thought going into that to ensure that you could achieve the goals that the port needed to achieve while maintaining a safe and compliant installation.
Oh, I can see why that won the award, because I think it wasn't a huge system from memory, was it? It was only
large, 7 or 8 kilowatts.
7 or 8 kilowatts, yeah. So it wasn't massive at all, even by that day. And but just the amount of thought and design that would have gone into that, it was just quite incredible. I can really see how that won an award.
It was something definitely out of left field. The way that the modules were affixed to the roof, and the way the trunking was done, and the cabling to mitigate any potential risks.
Yeah, I think I actually. This is back in my days when I was that would have been around the time when I was at True Value Solar. And we we decided to put in for one of those awards. I don't know if it was that year or not. And we thought we were a shoo-in. We thought we were going to win. And looking back now, all we did was it was like a 5.2 kilowatt system with SMA inverter. And the only real thing about it was on a 38 degree pitch. And we thought, this is the best install ever. But and then I had a look at what Pete's done. I'm like, I could be in a bit of trouble here. Could be in a little bit of trouble. But anyway, we didn't win the award, but we didn't come second or third either. So I'd like to say we came fourth. But anyway, not really sure.
The funny thing about awards is that there's typically just one winner. Sometimes a close runner-up might get a recognition or something.
Yep.
But I think it's really important that people do apply for these things, that they push themselves.
Yeah.
It gives you hunger to get better, to increase the quality, to increase the complexity. Yeah. And that's only good for the industry.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into putting in the bid for these awards and entering them. So you reckon it's worth it? Like, you reckon you guys have seen either whether it's some growth from it or some more customers or brand recognition or anything like that?
Yeah, look, I think it helps, especially when you do win them. But the process of doing it itself, it makes you self-reflect. It makes you look at what you're doing, how you're doing it. It definitely improves communication skills. Yeah. So you can't just sort of put an award, put a system together and then apply for an award and think that the person who is judging based on the criteria and selecting who's going to be nominated to go to the event, you really need to be able to communicate well with them what the point of differences are with your award and why you think it's deserving. So even just from the ability to increase your communication skills, it's definitely something that I think a lot of installers should get around. Yeah, it'd be good if a lot of stretch themselves too. I don't think the CEC awards, I don't think there's been that many entrants the last sort of few years. So it'd be good to see awards like that, become a bit more attractive, I suppose, for installers to enter. Because you're right, it's best for our industry, and it makes our industry better when these sort of things are at the forefront. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your role at Leeson Solar. So where was it? It's the what's your technical and what's your title again? Regulation and compliance. There it is, regulation and compliance. Gee, you're talking my language here. Me being a licensed electrical inspector. I was actually before we get to that, I was gonna say to you, I think I've said this to you many times. I reckon you'd make a great inspector. We spoke about this a couple of years ago. I was thinking about actually doing my LEI. And it's still something that I think later on in my career I could potentially look at. I think it'd be a really rewarding and at the same time challenging sort of role to take on. But I guess my passion for the moment is still in the business that I'm currently in. Aside from regulation compliance, we also work on product development. And things along that lines where we can look at something and go, well, here's a potential issue or here's a challenge. Well, what can we do to make this as easy as possible? No, that makes a lot of sense. I will say though, don't leave it too late, because if you're going to be doing solar and you're going to be doing inspections,
You can't be... Well, make sure you're still nimble. You can do it when you're older, I suppose, but make sure you're still nimble. You still need to get on the roof. It's still quite a physical job.
It is indeed.
Yeah, I think gone are the days now where the inspector can just sort of rock up, leave their car running, not even get the ladder off their roof if they've got one, and just sort of do a bit of a drive-by. I think those days are sort of behind us now, hopefully.
Yeah, and look, I guess it's a sign of the industry when there are so many players, and particularly larger retailers that may not actually be an REC themselves or they subcontract their work out, they'll aim for the easy jobs. They know cookie cutter, 6.6, just design, sell. So we're finding, I think, nowadays that a lot more of the installations are on more complex roofs, multi-storey roofs. When you've got increased cost of land, people are buying smaller blocks and they're going up to 2 stories. So you look at a lot of new housing estates, they're pretty much purely 2-story builds.
Yeah.
So it's something that you need to take into account too as an installer and a designer is how is my inspector going to get up there 2 or 3 days or a week after installation and safely get access to inspect?
Yeah, it's because it's certainly from my point of view, it can definitely be a bit of a challenge, especially once the scaffolding's gone, all the access is gone. And, everyone's pushing to get their CES so they can get their certificates and all that sort of stuff. And then, we get a couple of wet days in inspector. It makes things quite difficult. But, it's good people are thinking of that. What we'll do, Matt, we'll take a quick break. And once we come back, we'll talk about your role at Leeson Solar in regulation and compliance.
Looking forward to it.
Oi. Oi, 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 oi. IGA, it's shopping nights. IGA, where the price is right. Seaford North IGA, for your groceries and liquor. IGA Express, there's nothing quicker.
All right. So, your role, regulation and compliance. How did that come about, Matt? Because a lot of other solar companies wouldn't have someone in a position like yours. Actually, it's the first time I've heard that job description. I'm sure there's a lot of other people at other solar companies that would be doing these sort of roles that you do. But how did that come about? Regulation and compliance. First of all, the name. Why is it called that? Did you make it up yourself, or was it
pretty much? Yeah, we're updating now. Email signatures and we really wanted to focus on what is our role. Previously it was construction manager, but I find myself a lot less on sites now, and construction manager sort of leads you to think that I'm out there actually managing the construction, which isn't quite correct all the time. Basically, it's a bit of a long-winded story, but we ended up in a position in our business whereby we had a national installation contract for a roofing company who was looking to venture into the solar game. My role was basically finding and vetting subcontractor installations across Australia. Of course, we had our own installation teams in Melbourne, covering the Victorian jobs. But I need to find and vet install companies, New South Wales, Queensland, South Australia, WA, etc.
So you're doing a QA role as well, is it? Is that
correct? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So you know as well as I do that solar is a pretty risky business. That we're putting an electricity generation system on someone's roof that they're expecting to last 20 or 25 years.
Yeah.
So it needs to be installed accordingly. We can't just throw them together in a manner that means that they're going to require consistent upkeep and maintenance on key items. So as part of that role, we developed basically an installation guideline, so practices that we expected and methodologies that we expected the installs to be done to.
Yep.
And then we'd onboard companies, vet them, check that they're up to the task, etc.
Yep.
We developed a platform inside an app that meant that they could capture particular photos from on site, which then I could do desktop audits. So basically my role was just ensuring that the installers that I may not be there to guide them, watch them physically on site, I could still monitor and see that the installations they were performing for us were to the level that we'd expect. And that's sort of just rolled on through the years, and that app's flowed on, and our internal team still use it every day, generating reports, doing site pre-starts, etc.
Yeah, right. So did you guys come up with that yourself, or did you come up with that process yourself, or did you sort of base it on another company or anything like that, or just sort of develop it, organically? How did you come about with that?
necessity, I guess, is what drove it. One of the large roofing companies that we're working with at the time and still do to this day, their roofing workers, roof tilers, etc., they were using a particular app. It's called CodeSafe. If you look on App Store, it's QIN, CodeSafe.
Yeah, okay.
They were using that for their pre-starts to ensure compliance and that they were ticking off all the safe work requirements in the way of doing pre-starts and JSAs. That was mentioned to us, and it was a pretty handy platform, and you could build forms inside it. So we do a lot of work for builders on new homes under development, which generally entails 2 visits. So your first one to install panels, racking, cabling, or solar tiles, cabling.
Don't give away too much. I'm going to talk about the solar tiles next.
Very good. And then the second visit once it's a lock-up. So you install the inverter, battery, and complete. So we don't want to wait till the end of the job. It could be 3 months down the track since the handrails come down and the system's been installed on the roof. So we had a form for PV roof install that'd capture all the required photos, racking on the roof, penetrations, feet spacing, cablings, affixed appropriately, photos of the finished panel install, DC cabling to the roof space, WSX3 protection down walls where it's required, etc., and then cables into the switchboard. All the things are basically, we can look at the job and monitor it and just check that everything is being done in the manner that it should be done. Yeah. And then a secondary report at stage 2 to capture all the requirements of the battery or the inverter.
Geez, that's a lot of work. Like, just even contemplating all that. If you're talking to, we have any listeners out there who are new to the solar industry or don't know much about it, that's just mind-blowing, the amount of work that is required in all of that, setting all of that sort of stuff up. And you're only just sort of scratching the surface of how difficult the solar industry can be, aren't you? Like, we're kind of used to it now. I think we're a bit numb now to how much of that sort of work is involved.
You kind of just get used to what's there that wouldn't be at the forefront of your mind. But I guess we've always had an ethos that systems and processes are super important.
Yeah.
If you invest the time in getting your systems and processes correct at the start, you'll increase efficiencies exponentially. And from there, you save time later.
Yeah, right. Oh, I think there's still a lot of companies out there that are making those type of mistakes and like being really reactive still in the industry. But it's great to hear that there's companies like Leeson Solar that are out there and being a bit more proactive and thinking about these sort of things. And you guys say it's a necessity. Like, you probably wouldn't be where you are today unless you have that sort of stuff.
Correct. Keeping your finger on the pulse of what's going on inside your business is super important. You've got balance sheets, look at your financials, and we've got reports to look at how the actual physical work's getting done.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess it's no different. You would remember back when you first started your apprenticeship and the A grade leading you. If you left that work vehicle or van in a mess, the tools disorganised and things not in place, you'd hear about it. You'd know.
Did you know? I work with my dad, so yeah, I wasn't just hearing about it on site. I'd hear about it when I got home as well. We'd be having a beer after work, and he'd be telling me about it, or telling me how slow I was fitting off the PowerPoints or whatever. But yeah, I understand.
I'd feel sorry for you, Pat, but I think it's easier to take those words from your dad than it is from your younger brother. So.
Yeah, that's true. What's the age gap? About 2 years with you guys?
About 2 years.
About 2 years, yeah. That's right. You were the year above me at school, and Pete was the year under me.
That's right.
At school. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, oh, very good. So, in your role, I know that you're pretty engaged with the regulations, with the standards. Now, I always bang on about this when I'm speaking about how many changes we have in the solar industry to our standards, regulations, just the carpet being pulled from under us all the time.
Yep.
AS3000 gets basically changed, whatever it is. I think it's around about every 10 years. And, you get a few little amendments here and there. Solar, we've got, 533, 4777, 0.1, 0.2. You could just keep going on and on with all the standards, 5139. And they are just constantly getting changed. I think we're in a period at the moment where we haven't really had a major standard change since...
21.
Yeah, well, 22 actually. 22 is when it was mandatory. The 5833 2021. That's when it became mandatory, and that was in May, I think. Now, it's been almost 2 years since we've had one. That's a bit of a record, I think, but there's more coming.
4777's been updated.
4777, I believe. 4777.1, we're going to be able to have 1,000 volts.
Yep.
All that sort of stuff. 5139 is being, I think, is an amendment maybe, or rewritten as well.
Yep.
And then there's other things like 3008 is going to include like DC cables as well. So there's a whole lot of stuff. And before we know it, there'll be a change to 5833 as well, and we'll do the cycle all again.
That's part and parcel of working in an industry where there's rapid technological growth and changes. So if you look at AS3000 and what it covers, there's not a lot of new equipment, new technology that falls outside of what the standards already cover. And when you're talking about solar inverters, batteries, panels and these sort of things, you're talking about something that's still experiencing massive change on a year-by-year basis.
Yeah.
And then you throw in DNSP requirements and issues to do with grids, etc., and the changes that need to be enforced from that regards. It's always going to require more consistent updates to the standards to make sure that we're delivering quality and safety.
Yeah, I suppose we're a victim of our own success and innovation, aren't we? And then if you look at the standards process, on top of that, is quite a slow one. And it can take, 2 years for a standard to be changed. And then, there's all the processes with Standards Australia that go with it. It's just not that nimble. And maybe we do need something that's a little bit more nimble in our industry. But the point I was sort of getting to is what sort of things do you do in your role? Because it sounds like I don't think you can say that you're the sidekick with the regulation and compliance. You're the head honcho, mate. You are the superhero, at least in solar, for this. So
that's one thing Pete will admit, that I'm probably more over the regulations than him. But
yep. So how do you keep on top of it? What do you do? What are the things you do to stay on top of it? Because there's not just one thing you'd be able to do. I'm sure you've got a multi-pronged attack with what you have in your arsenal. So how do you keep on top of all these changes and the requirements?
I think it's important to set aside some of your time when new versions of the standards are coming out to read the draft version and get your head around it.
Yeah. A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think too many people rely on the old industry stalwarts that spend the time to do it and comment to make sure that the finalised and accepted version is suitable. And even if you don't have the time or the necessary want to put in a comment to the draft version, at least getting your head around it early and understanding the changes and not relying to hear about it on socials or down the grapevine, I think is super important. We were approached by Sandy Atkins and I think a Daniel from ESV a number of years ago when they were rewriting 5033, because the brilliant thing about the guys that sit in the standards committee is they actually care about the industry. They want to make sure that they're not writing a standard that's going to cause issues. So they understood that we were sort of one of the specialists in the BIPV space and wanted to get their head around more how the installation goes through, where the products are heading, etc.
So I'll cut you off there for a second, just in case we have some new listeners or people who don't know these acronyms. BIPV?
Building Integrated Photovoltaics.
Yep, okay. So what is that exactly?
Basically where the solar is built into the fabric of the building. So we've done some installations where the actual wall of the building will be solar cells. So not just solar panels bolted onto the wall directly, but it's built into the fabric of the building.
Yep.
Things like solar roof tiles, like the Volt solar tile, where it achieves two purposes. It doesn't just generate electricity, but it also serves as the water membrane or fabric of the building.
Yep. So, a lot of people would know it as solar tiles. You're probably sick of the comparison with Tesla tiles. Like, that's probably in everyone's distant memory by now, I suppose. I don't think they're not doing that anymore, are they? I don't think.
Still doing overseas.
Yeah.
Not happening in Australia.
No.
I think the regulation complications made it a bit difficult for them.
A bit hard for Elon.
Yeah, possibly a bit hard, but it's also not a very large market for them. So
yeah, sure.
I don't expect to see them release them here anytime in the near future. If they do, it'll be once they've sort of really hit the market share they want in other regions. Yeah,
right. Did you have anything to do with Tesla? Like any collaborations or anything like that? I know they like to keep things pretty close to their chest, a lot of the stuff. Yeah. Did you anything you can talk about or not really?
Oh, look, there were probably a few conversations with Tim McBride at the time, who is a fantastic guy. And he was, we were giving him some direction on how to achieve compliance, especially back when rooftop load break disconnectors were a requirement.
Yep.
Things like that. So no physical actual work, didn't get involved. I have met a couple of guys that worked with the Tesla Solar Roof when it first was a thing.
Yep.
It was up in Sydney. They brought some product over and had some roofers and some solar guys try to install it on a test rig to see if they can gain compliance here.
Yeah. Okay.
Apparently fairly complicated.
Yeah. Fair enough. No worries. Oh, well, what we might do, Matt, I want to dive a bit more into this BIPV space because that's a lot. That's a lot where Leeson Solar and Volt as well have been. That's pretty much your bread and butter. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take a quick break, and that's going to be. That's going to be coming up in a sec, and then we'll get back into the BIPV stuff. All right, we're back. So, Matt, we were about to dive into the BIPV. We just explained to everyone what actual BIPV is. Basically, a solar tile, or it might be on a wall. Now, you guys are doing that, and it's pretty much. Would you say it's your main business now, or where does it fit into Leeson Solar at the moment?
Definitely one of the largest business directions for Leeson Solar at the moment.
Yep.
So Volt is basically a product that's been under development for 7-8 years.
Yep.
It's taken a while to get it to where it was, and I guess the technology and industry was finally at a point where we could release it a high quality product that's designed by installers with at the forefront of mind ease of installation.
Yeah, right. So you guys are actually selling tiles.
Correct.
Is that right? Yeah, there you go. So you're not just solar installers.
Yeah.
You're selling tiles. Manufactured? Where are they manufactured?
Manufactured off a fully automated 2 gigawatt line in China at the moment.
Yep.
With ambitions to build a manufacturing plant here in Australia.
So you guys wanted to get a piece of that $1 billion from
well, look, I mean...
that was announced last week in the industry.
We've been talking about Aussie manufacturing for about 18 months now with your product.
Yeah.
Obviously, the world economy isn't fantastic at the moment.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things going on, so it probably has had an effect on how soon we can manufacture in Australia. But it's definitely still the target, and we're confident it's going to happen.
On your radar, yeah. Okay, so all right, so we've got at the moment. So we're doing this in April 2024. Now, a normal roof solar panel that is going in. The ones I see, pretty standard to be 440 watts. We're seeing a few 500s here and there.
Yep.
What about your Volt solar tile? What are we sitting at?
So there's currently 2 versions.
Yep.
Both are made to match a roofing product available through Bristow Roofing Australia, part of Brickworks Austral Bricks Group. One is the Platinum, which is 115 watts.
Yep.
And the other is the Lodge or Prestige at 110 watts.
Yeah, right. And I'm tipping because you're at about a quarter of the size as far as wattage goes. That's roughly, isn't it? Somewhere around a quarter?
Yeah, around that, yep.
Is that the same with the physical size of it?
Roughly, we're probably about a third the size, a little bit under a third the size.
I suppose you've got a bit more metal and you've got more framing that's required.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, that all makes sense. So how do you go about installing it? Now, I'm thinking about this from a 5033 point of view. Now, you've basically got to have all of your DC cabling and conduit inside the roof space in a normal PV installation. How does that change with a BIPV? Like, how do you do your cabling? I'm interested.
Yeah, it's a good question.
What do you do?
So, as a standard install with regular panels, obviously inside the roof space, in the wall cavities, etc., all standard HD conduit and WSX3 protection is utilised.
Yep.
Once that heavy-duty conduit actually makes its way past through the sarking to underneath the roof tiles at the array, it falls under architecture cabling in 5033, and it no longer requires further protection. So
can you then go to MD conduit, or you can just go to not protected?
We use HD everywhere anyway.
Yeah.
And the way we've designed the system is there's a trunking system built into the back of the solar modules that encapsulates the cable anyway. So we've still maintained that level of protection at the array, even though it's not required, just simply for safety and quality purposes. But I guess in those discussions I was having with Sandy back in the day when they were looking at ensuring that the latest standard was written to not preclude future innovation and future technologies, it definitely paid dividends in that the way that the standard was written allowed for us to be able to achieve these things and ensure that we had compliant and safe installations still.
Sorry, can you just say that in my good ear? Did I just hear you give a compliment to the standards committee? I think
I did indeed.
Oh, you did. Well done. All right, so it's everyone out there. It's not all bad. All the people in the standards committee, you're doing a great job.
Like I was saying,
cop a lot of flack.
Yeah, look, they care about the industry.
Yeah.
They care about ensuring that we can keep going about our jobs and that we can do it safely. And the more that we engage with them, the better the outcome for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. That's for sure. So what about with so if you I'm just drawing comparisons here with normal PV installations. Normally, if you've got a tile roof, we've got a tile bracket with some rail that's bolted onto it.
Yep.
Where all that sort of stuff. So you actually got no tiles. So what do you do? What's the process there? What do you?
So it's an interesting concept. Basically, the product is designed for new build homes.
Yep.
Although we do install retrofit, so where the roof will be pulled off and then sarking and battens replaced to the appropriate specifications. Then we install. I was actually on an installation yesterday when you called me. One in beautiful sunny Heathmont in Melbourne.
Yeah. Back near the old stomping ground.
That's right, not far from home.
Yeah.
So this job here was actually a retro where the roof tiles were removed. Roofers reinstall roof battens at the appropriate spacing to ensure that the interlocking feature of the Volt solar tiles works correctly.
What's that interlocking feature?
It's
just so they're fixed together. Is that right?
Pretty much. It's a hook and nose style setup, so that the first row of solar tiles goes in, and then as you install your second one above that, the nose of that solar tile actually locks into the back of the one below, so they can't be lifted. It basically ensures they're virtually tornado proof, I guess, in that they're all locked down and screwed from the rear. It does require that the batten spacing is relatively accurate, so we've actually developed a tool that the roofers use that lock the battens in a correct spacing before they fix them off.
Yep.
To give you a rough indication, it was probably about 12:30 by the time we'd done some DC cabling, AC cabling.
Yeah, right.
The roofers had stripped the roof and put new roof battens at the appropriate space. And I think it was just on 5:30 we're climbing off the roof after finishing 7.9 kilowatts of Volt tiles. So
yeah, right.
That was 5 hours to install just under 8 kilowatts of Volt solar tiles. All roof work's done minus disconnection points.
And what's interesting about that is that you haven't just installed solar, you've actually installed a roof.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
So we collaborate with the roofers. Obviously, installing a roof, the roof needs to be signed off.
Yep.
It is a licensed trade, just like our industry is. So we've teamed up with Bristol Roofing in Australia. They on this job here, they had their crew there doing the roof.
Yep.
Volt Solar Tile has what we call Volt Partners. So all over Australia, there's companies like ours with sales, engineering, and design installation capabilities.
Yep.
Who are really keen to get involved in BIPV. We vet them, onboard them, fly out to a job, train them up on how the product's installed so they have hands-on experience, and then they're out in the field quoting and selling and installing the system themselves. So we've also not only paired up with other solar installation businesses, but also roofing companies.
Yeah, right. So the installation companies, they're almost set up like a dealership kind of setup, are they? Is that right?
Yeah, similar.
Similar?
I guess you could kind of look at it the similar way that Tesla does it, where you have to be a certified installer and reseller to get your hands on the product. We're not just releasing it through wholesalers for anyone to buy. I guess it's about ensuring that everyone that goes out there and does it is actually trained up and has the correct knowledge to be able to install it. It is a very simple product, though. Especially on a new build home, you got nice straight level roofs. The roof is putting the battens to a correct set out. You literally just drop the product in, plug them together, screw them in place, rinse, repeat.
Mate, you're making it sound too easy. You're making it sound way too easy. Can you give yourself a bit of credit there, I think?
Yeah. Like I said, 7 or 8 years of development has led to a position where we've got a product that we're super happy with, and there's still more improvements coming just to increase ease of install. For instance, the product is 1.7 metres long, 35 centimetres wide, and only weighs about 10 or 11 kilos.
So, I hear that, solar installers. Anyone wants to go back to the days of 2010, we used to have like 14 kilo panels.
Yeah, how good were those days?
Oh, weren't they ever?
Yep. So, yesterday passing this up, you literally stand on the ground in one hand, lift them up and pass them to go up on the roof. Definitely a lot easier on the body from that perspective.
Yeah, that's a big thing because installing solar is quite hard on the body.
It is, the weights are getting a bit excessive. The risk. There's a few companies out there actually using exoskeleton body suits.
I've heard about this.
Yeah.
They were talking about this at All Energy last year.
Yep.
I haven't heard any advancements on it, but I heard of the concept and the idea. That sounds like it's going to be, hopefully, a game changer for a lot of solar installers. Yeah, that'd be really good. So another question I've got about this is, as you are installing a roof, I'm tipping you're going to have to work pretty closely with other trades.
Yeah.
Roof tilers? How do you go? You got a good relationship with roof tilers? Is that?
Yeah. Overall, yes.
Yeah.
It's same as any industry. You're going to meet the odd one that just doesn't want to know about new technology and the old can't teach old dogs new tricks sort of routine.
Yeah.
But we've been really lucky. They all see the vision. They see where the industry's going. They understand that new technology is only a good thing for them. That having a point of difference in the industry, opens up avenues for them as well. No different to the installers that want to become Vault partners. They see that it's just another notch in the belt, something that they can do and they can offer their customers and their builders, etc. It's pretty straightforward. So, like I said, we've developed a batten tool that means that, they can quickly install the battens at the exact set out without having any issues.
Yep.
Which increases speed of install for us. Make it as easy as possible for them, and they're happy to oblige.
Yeah, right. So is there any crossover at all where obviously we work in a licensed trade where, if you need to fix, lay or fit an electrical cable or whatever, you need to be licensed or you need to be an apprentice working on supervision?
Yep.
Is there any crossover there with roof tilers or anyone? Do they help you lift the modules up or anything like that?
Yeah, look, particularly on a retro build where we might be stripping one or two roof planes, they'll get there to start, do the strip, do the batten set out, and then they'll often give us a hand to pass up the modules. And many hands make light work, as they say. So the faster we get those modules up there.
They'd be pretty quick too. They'd have a few tricks.
They know how to move. Yeah. The speed of lightning on a roof.
Yeah.
So aside from that, there's not really anything they get into. So the Vault partners or our internal guys, the electricians actually install them and plug them together as per the requirements under the ESA.
Yep. Oh, very good. So training with you've got a crew of apprentices, I'm tipping.
Correct.
Is that right? Yep. How many apprentices you got at the moment?
I'm rolling 4 at the moment.
4. Yep. Okay. So it's going to be a little bit different for them doing this sort of work. And also your A grades. How do you get them geared up for doing this sort of stuff? Is it all just, can they learn it all on site? Or what's your method?
I'll start from the start. I guess we've got an onboarding process where...
So it's part of your process you were talking about before as well.
Yeah. So, when we elect, notify a person that, you apply for the job and we'd love to have you on board. Get them into the office, using the same app. There's an induction process they do that they sit through that shows the material and the typical warnings and induction process you'll have into any business. Questionnaire just to make sure they're ticked off.
Yep.
Make sure they've got all the suitable tickets, the construction issue white card and working at height, send them off for the courses when required.
Right.
And then I like to have them with me in the first couple of days so I can take them out. I'll pick a few jobs to go out to, whether it's some service calls or some repair work, just so we can ease them into the business without throwing them straight up on a roof and expect them to know how to install something.
Yeah.
Get them a bit comfortable with being out the tools and with understanding the lingo and learning what tools are what, etc. Then they'll usually be straight out with the crew, eased into it, of course. Instructed on basic things like conduit work and roof racking and those things.
Yep. Just
to not throw them completely in the deep end and stress them out. Make sure that they get a decent depth of understanding of the basics.
Flies hanging around you again.
It is indeed, mate. It just so
yeah, right. Oh, that's good. So you're not just throwing them into the deep end. You're giving them a good onboarding process, making sure that they're being trained properly.
Investing the time in them is super important.
Yeah.
So I guess I've always struggled with the idea of letting go of control of things. I don't know if you ever the same thing too, where if I'm doing something, I'm on site, sometimes you just want to do it yourself because you think you get that mindset of I can do it better, I can do it quicker.
It can be a bit of a trap sometimes, can't it?
It can indeed.
Yeah.
So, it's important to remember that when you're working with apprentices, whether they're first year, second year, third year, to take the time to explain things thoroughly and give them the opportunity to get into it and get it done under, the required amount of guidance.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's for sure. And making sure you're not throwing them under the bus too much. That actually just reminded me with at All Energy, there was when they did just another solar podcast and Robbie Nichols was up on the stage talking about his experience as an electrician. And I actually asked a question from the crowd because I knew the answer. And he's been an electrician, he's basically his whole life. And I said, Robbie, when was the first time you did a switchboard? And his answer was 12. he was 12 years old when he first did a switchboard because he worked with his dad. And I know. So, this is a long time ago. So obviously, I always have a bit of a laugh with Robbie about that.
How things have changed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you couldn't do that now. I mean, my son my son Ben is 10. So in another, he's turning 11 later this year. In another year, I can't see him, doing a switchboard. I think things have changed a little bit.
Yeah, maybe reprogram a computer or something.
Yeah,
similar,
he's good at that. Yeah, he's certainly very good at that sort of stuff and making his own videos. All right, well, what we'll do, we're just going to head to another break and then just want to have a little bit of a chat about some general industry stuff. And we're back. So, Matt, I wanted to have a bit more of a general chat now about sort of the stuff that's happening in the small-scale solar industry that's, more related to us as installers and small-scale companies. And just to get your thoughts on a few of these things. So last night I was at the first of the Solar Cutters Roadshow. That was at Hyatt. So that was the Melbourne Roadshow. Had some really good speakers there. Glenn Morris was there doing his thing with his gold chain and talking about his Solar Plus and all the stuff about his the community they've got there. So that was good fun.
Excellent.
I had a speaking gig and I was talking about the LEI RE class, which is brand new. Now, I sort of asked everyone if they knew about this RE class, and I got a couple of hands up, and then I said, has anyone got their inspector that has their RE class? And I think I got one person with a hand up. So I basically had to go through and explain what it was. So this new RE class, for those of you who don't know, we know LEIs need to sign off all solar installations in Victoria as prescribed work, and that would be a G-class inspector who's required to do that. Now, they've brought in the RE class because ESV decided that a G-class is not specialised enough for renewable energy stuff, so solar and batteries and those sort of things.
Okay, yep.
So they brought in this RE class, which is more specialised for solar. So it's sort of right up my alley. That's exactly what I do. All the I've been pretty much since I got my LEI, I've just been doing solar. So they brought this class in. So as of today, it's actually today we're doing this podcast. It's Friday, the 5th of April, 2024. As of today, this new RE class is mandatory for all solar and battery inspections. So if you don't have an inspector with an RE endorsement, you're going to struggle to get your job signed off.
You better call Pat.
Don't everyone call me. Don't everyone call me. But yeah, I know there's a few inspectors that haven't got it, and because they've made a decision they don't want to do. Well, they don't really like doing solar anyway. They don't want to get up on the roof, whether that's an age thing, and they just want to do switchboards or mains upgrades, whatever. And
that's fair enough. But I think the class, for me, my opinion is it's a good thing.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on it, Pat?
Yeah, look, I think it's like long overdue. So I think we had, might have been, I can't remember exactly what it was called. It might have been an I class or something like that back in 2009. I'm not sure exactly.
That rings a bell.
Yeah. So you had to have that to do, I think it was generators, and solar came under that back then, but it was a very small industry. My understanding is a part of the Black Saturday bushfires, to get more people online, because there was a lot of places that needed re-inspecting. And yeah, as an industry, we all sort of came together and said, well, for generators, I think it was, to get generators back online, you didn't actually require to have that generation endorsement, and they got rid of it. So anyone could do it. So it was sort of a bit of a thing to help the victims of the Black Saturday bushfires get back online. And it just sort of kept rolling from there, and they never brought it back. And so that meant that all G-class inspectors were able to do solar up until today. And the product of that has meant that there's been a lot of inspectors that know nothing about solar who are signing off solar. So I found it
risky.
Yeah, I found it really frustrating especially when I was doing my LEI course and exams in 2020 and 2021, that there was all these people signing off solar who had no idea and were able to do it. Yet I was trying to pass my exams. I know a fair bit about solar because that's all I do. I couldn't get through these exams and I couldn't sign off solar, but all these other people were able to do it. And it was really frustrating at the time. think it's a good step forward from ESV to be able to do this. Yeah, they're certainly leading the way with the rest of the country. So, you know, a lot of other states don't even require inspections for solar, which is I think that's a massive risk, especially places like New South Wales and Queensland. I wrote a blog about it for New South Wales. I think it's just a huge risk. They've got a state of, I don't know what it is, 8 million people, and solar going in everywhere, and they just don't seem to really care about the compliance of their systems, and it's like the Wild West up there, to be honest.
Yeah, I've been a big proponent of nationwide installations, mandatory inspections for solar installations.
Yep.
For a long time, and I guess my thoughts not only have grown stronger since we were doing installations Australia wide. I was going out and physically auditing installations as well in other states.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to do that. As the installer, you shouldn't have to do that. Like, it's good to have your QA process in place, but if you had an inspector go over the top and get a different perspective, have a look, give your feedback, whatever, work together, you can get such better outcome for everyone.
Indeed. I guess without mandatory inspections, there's a lot of things that will slip under the radar, small minor things, and it's only if they manage to get a CER audit on one of their jobs outside of Vic, whereby, I mean, I think Tasmania and ACT have inspections as well.
Yeah, so Tasmania have got TechSafe, I believe, do audits for the Department of Justice, I think. And the ACT have got a mandatory inspection process as well.
Yeah, so outside of those areas and Vic, I definitely, when I audit jobs, I see not necessarily a quality drop, but definitely a compliance drop. And, you know, the fact that Victoria's had these mandatory inspections for so long has been a benefit, and I can only see it being a further benefit now that inspectors need to have that RE tick. So that we haven't got inspectors out there who maybe, like you said, guys who don't actually want to do it. They're not passionate for renewables. They don't want to be climbing on roofs, but they also don't understand the systems and the complexities.
Yeah, it's pretty full on, isn't it? Installing solar is quite. It's not just, you know, red wire here, black wire here, green wire there. Correct. It's a bit more involved. DC is pretty scary if you get it wrong.
Indeed. There's a lot of different regulation books to understand, but there's also manufacturers' installation instructions. So AS3000 dictates that we need to install as per the manufacturer's instructions. And there's, as an inspector, how many different brands and types of inverters have you inspected, Pat?
Oh, gee.
Dozens.
I can't think of how many. It's more than dozens. It's probably, I don't know, 50 to 60, something along those lines. It's probably more than that, actually, when I think about it.
And I don't know anybody that could potentially, off the top of their head, know the different installation requirements for each of those products. So how are the installers supposed to know, particularly when you're talking about installers maybe that don't do solely their own sales, whereby they're working for a retailer as a contractor, etc. They could be working for 3 or 4 retailers. Each of those retailers might have 3 or 4 different inverter options. They could be working with 15 or 20 different inverter products, and that's just the inverters. Not taking into account panels with different clamping zones, different requirements, different racking solutions, different engineering under 1170. So I think it's really important that we do have inspectors that have that RE tick. And I think it's important that that this sort of method of doing things is branched out across all of Australia.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's sort of my dream for it to happen across Australia. I think it's going to be a bit of a long road, though. But anyway, ESV are leading the way, and it's really good to see as far as I'm concerned.
A lot of people, once they have a negative attitude towards ESO or ESV, but it scares them. They look at it as the big bad monster at the back who might be, you know, threatening their ticket or their license, etc. But they really are a great bunch of guys.
Yeah, they are.
What they care about is just ensuring that installations are done safely, that we follow the required standards. They're extremely approachable. We've had them out at our office to do a toolbox talk with the guys, and it was valuable. The stuff that the guys talked about, you know, it sunk in with our crew. They all took something away from it. There was no charge for it, no costs. It was a good filler for a toolbox to make sure that, you know, something proactive was happening.
Should get CPD points for that.
You know, I'd really like to see more people in the industry becoming engaged with, you know, organisations like ESV.
Yeah, they're not all big bad wolves, are they? Like I know they can come down with the sledgehammer when people do the wrong thing, but if you don't do the wrong thing, then you don't usually cop that sledgehammer. And they are. You're right. The guys that are there, like I worked with Sandy Atkins at the CEC. He was my first boss when I was there, so I worked with him for a while. I know what sort of operator he is.
He's a great guy.
He's a great guy. He's so approachable. And yeah, even did a few things recently with Scott Beasley as well. He's really good. He's good to have a chat to as well.
He's extremely knowledgeable.
Oh, he knows so much stuff. There's just a wealth of knowledge in there. So I think it's really good that ESV are sort of leading the way with all the regulators, which I think is good. So there's been a couple of other things that have sort of happened in the industry. I don't know if you're over these or not. There's been a couple of companies that have gone belly up. Seems to be 2 this week. It's a shame. It's not great. It's not great for our industry when you sort of see these stories of companies that are, it's just a little bit too hard. I know both the companies I'm talking about, they're both quite different operations and they would operate their businesses in quite different ways. But yeah, it's going to mean there's going to be a whole lot of customers out there with, orphan systems. Just when we sort of think we're getting away from that sort of stuff, those days.
It's a tough economical climate at the moment.
I suppose that's part of it.
It's going to catch a few people out, a few businesses out. I guess it's where we're lucky in that we did diversified very early, both installations, product development, and then the utility scale side of the business as well. It's sort of, the old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Well, anyway, hopefully there's not more coming or anything like that. These things sort of do tend to come in waves a little bit. But yeah, it's just a little bit of a shame for our industry.
It is. It's sad to see, especially when there's guys that have been around in the industry for a long time and done a lot of good things for it. But I guess it's part of business.
Yeah, it is. That's right. It's not just the solar industry that is seeing these tough times at the moment. There's a cost of living crisis at the moment.
There is.
That we're all going through.
There's a lot of builders closing up shop.
Yeah. There sure is. Tough times, but still exciting times in the solar industry.
It is indeed.
We just had, I mentioned before, there was $1 billion just been put into the industry from the Albanese government to do with manufacturing in Australia.
Yep.
So it looks like we're going to be going back to making it a bit of a priority, which is a great move, I think.
It's good to see, that's one of the downfalls of Australia over the last 20, 30 years is that drop in local manufacturing. So to see some strong government interest in funding, getting ourselves back on track to make things in Australia is going to be positive.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So we're going to finish up in a minute. Is there any last thoughts you want to talk about, Matt, or is there anything you want to talk about, like what's in for the future of Lease and Solar, Volt, Solar Tiles? Any sort of parting words you've got?
Oh, firstly, Pat, I actually got a big thanks to you, mate. So when I came back into the industry 6, 7, 8 years ago, and finding out that you were there, you're one of the guys at the Clean Energy Council. Your involvement on the social media pages, particularly Cutters and Quality Solar, and your engagement and how giving you were of your information to the installers was fantastic. So big thanks from us that appreciated it. It definitely made a big difference and a big impact, not just on myself, but a lot of people. Having that link to the CEC, having someone there representing and freely giving of information and assistance and advice was great, and it shows how passionate you really are about renewables in the industry.
Yeah, no, thanks, mate. I'm humbled to hear that. Thank you very much. I remember making a concerted effort when I started at the CEC back in 2017. I did feel that they were a little bit disengaged at the time with the rest of the small scale installation community, which is, I feel like I'm one of those people. Yeah. Now we're all there, we're all in it, and I always wanted to be, I suppose, in that group. And even the days when I worked at True Value Solar, I can't believe I still talk about those days. But yeah, I wanted to really bridge that gap, and I really tried. That was one thing I really tried to do.
You achieved it.
And yeah, no, thank you. Well, it was sort of hard and it was difficult at times. And you've got, you're always you get involved in this sort of stuff. You're always going to have your haters, your naysayers, all that sort of stuff. And I tried to not focus on that sort of stuff and just really help as much as I can.
Yeah, so it was definitely appreciated, and I don't want to focus on the negatives. There definitely were some people that stepped over the line with some of the things that were being posted and said, and it's understandable why management, CZ had to say, "All right, guys, enough's enough." And that was a shame. It really was that just a small select group of people that had a bee in their bonnet had to go that way. But I think the vast majority really appreciated the effort that you and the guys went to engage and to share information and to link the two different sides of the sector.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. Oh, well, I'm off the chain now.
That's it.
I can do what I want now. I can say what I like.
I want to see some quality sledging like you do out in the cricket field, mate.
Yeah, well, I'm not quite as bad as I used to be. My teammates might say otherwise. Try to sort of rein it in a little bit. Got some of the younger ones that I'm playing with now. So try and lead by example.
You're a big trophy winner now, mate. You can't muddy your own name out in the field.
Yeah, that's a little bit embarrassing. No, it's something I love to do on a Saturday afternoon. Come out here. This is where we are now, Roy Dore Reserve. Come out here and play cricket. It's great. It's fantastic. Great fun. I love it.
Everybody needs an outlet, especially in an industry as stressful and frankly at times can be emotional as well as the solar industry, with regulation changes, with the ups and downs of sales and equipment availability. If you don't have an outlet, if all you do is work, you'll crumble. You need to have that outlet, and for you, it looks like cricket's the one.
Yeah, we didn't really touch on that much for you. What's it for you? Bit of fishing. What else?
Fishing. Get up the mountain.
Yeah, up the mountain. Yeah, yeah, good stuff. No, that's all really good stuff. No, I appreciate you saying all that stuff, Matt. It sort of made those times a bit more worth it, because it was sort of tough at times, but really happy with where we're at now in the industry and sort of how far we've come.
I'm really looking forward to seeing where this podcast goes.
Yeah, well, let's see. I
think the tack that you've taken and the people you're aiming to have on the show, it's going to make it a really interesting listen.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. It's been a great start having you on. Really good fun doing this as well. So.
Yeah, look, it's my first ever go. I'm not big on public speaking. A little bit nervous. But, yeah, it's been enjoyable sitting down having a chat with you and just glossing over what's been happening.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot, mate. All right, we might wrap things up there. Just a quick shout out to, just before we go, everyone who puts this together at Radio Carrum. It's a great little setup we've got here.
It is.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's a real great for community radio. Is just it's amazing. Really, got all these people's pictures up on the wall, doing all these shows, and I'm looking forward to being part of this community as well.
It's definitely not what I was expecting as I was walking in, but it's a great little setup here. And
So thanks to especially to Marcus at Radio Carrum for helping get this off the ground. Also wanted to do a quick shout out to all the people in the badass group that I'm on Facebook with, who have inspired me to take the leap and do this. You know who you are. So thank you very much for that, and I look forward to working with all of you in the coming months. And look, that's pretty much it. I think that brings us to the end of our first show of Solar Sidekicks. And until then, thank you very much, Matt Leeson, for being on.
Thanks for having me, Pat.
No worries. And we'll see you next time.